This is Pod Populi, podcasts for the people.
Welcome back to the Wedding Buzz. It's your host, Sydney, and Happy New Year and Happy Wedding Year to all of our 2025 couples. Some of you may have been planning your wedding for a whole year at this point, and it's finally your year, but some of you may have just gotten engaged over the holidays. The holidays are definitely peak engagement season. So, either way, congratulations. I'm sure you're so excited. If you are early in the planning process, one of the first things people are always excited to do is to pick your wedding party. Some of you, if you're farther along, may have already picked your wedding party, but I think some of the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about today may still be helpful if you have not reached your bachelor or bachelorette trip yet, or just your wedding weekend, because wedding party is fantastic. It's fun. It's so some of your best friends and your family. And sometimes you get to see friends or family that you haven't seen in a long time. But also sometimes there can be drama with wedding parties and trying to get everybody at the same place at the same time to all get along, to all wear the same thing and do the same things. And I just want to help you navigate this because this should be a fun time. This should not be a super stressful time. So, I've mentioned this before, but funny story, because what I'm going to advise you is to think about who you're going to actually include in your wedding party. Think through it before you go and just invite people. But I've said this before on the podcast, but when my husband proposed to me that night, I kid you not, 10 minutes later, I guess he was just so excited, but he texted in a group chat to his five best friends and said, "We just got engaged. You're all the best men." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And of course, instead he meant you're all groomsmen, but he accidentally said you're all the best men. So then he had to backtrack and be like, "Wait, no. Alex is the best man. The rest of you are groomsmen." But luckily his friends go with the flow and they did not care. But I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to go text everybody, "Hey, you're the wedding party," before you really think about it, because again, as fun as the wedding party can be, unfortunately, sometimes it does come with drama, and I don't want that for you. I want it to be smooth. I want it to be fun. I want it to be a happy time. So, another example of this is if you have listened way back in an episode, I had my friend Sophia on the podcast, Sophia from the Travel Brats, and we did a two-part episode. I had her come back because one episode wasn't long enough for the two of us to chat about her wedding. But unfortunately, she kind of hated her wedding. And one of the biggest parts that she hated was truly the wedding party. She talked about it on the episode of how she included all of her old college friends, so many people, and it was kind of drama the whole process. Her bachelorette trip was drama. And instead of them being there to celebrate her, it kind of felt like she, as the bride, was just picking up the puzzle pieces, keeping everybody together, trying to keep the peace. And it ruined it for her, unfortunately. And I hate that for her. But I don't want that for you. I want everyone to be happy and on the same page. She was talking about how some of the girls didn't want to wear the bridesmaids dresses that she picked. I think her own sisters changed into different dresses halfway through the wedding. They just caused drama, and I don't want that for you. And I want you to really think through this before you dive in. So let's dive into how to pick the right people for your wedding party. If you hear a bunch of dinging, sorry, my computer just sent all the notifications out there. But anyway, let's choose the right people for your wedding party. So, how do you know who to choose? So, some criteria that I want you to think through is kind of obvious, but closeness. Who are you closest to? Who are the no-brainer people? For me, it was my sister. We're super super close, no-brainer. She was my maid of honor or matron of honor at the time. And then my best friend Nicole. We've been best friends since we were in diapers. So those are my two no-brainer people. Think about who those are for you, and those are the obvious. So after the obvious people, think about a few things. One, who are you close to besides the No brainer, people. Who is reliable? Who is financially stable enough to actually be in the wedding party? And the biggest one is who is genuine? Who is genuinely going to be so happy and so excited to be a part of your big day? Who is genuinely so happy for you that you are engaged and that you are getting married? Who's going to be happy to be there? To go back, who is reliable? Sometimes we have a friend who you want to be in the wedding party, but they're not so reliable. And that's kind of up to you. If they're not reliable and it's going to be a total pain in the butt having them as part of the wedding party, maybe you think twice. Just not to push people out, but maybe think twice. And then who is financially stable enough to actually be part of the wedding party? And I say this with caution because, of course, if you have a good friend who is reliable, who is genuine, who you're super close with, but they're financially struggling, I'm not telling you to kick them out. I'm saying to be cautious of it. There might be someone who is super close to you, super reliable, super genuine, and they just really can't afford a bachelorette trip. It might be worth it to you to pay their share of the bachelorette trip if you think that it's worth it for them to be there. It might be worth it to you to pay half of their wedding, like not half of their bridesmaid's dress that they're going to wear to your wedding. That it might be worth it to you. But at the same time, if you're not super close with someone and you're on the fence about them, they're not super reliable, you're not sure if they're going to be genuinely happy to be there. And then on top of it, they financially, it's going to be a struggle for them to buy a bridesmaid's dress, to maybe pay for hair and makeup, to go on a bachelorette trip, to go to your bridal shower, all these things. If it's going to be just stress for them, which is going to end up being stress for you, maybe it's not worth having them be a part of your wedding party. This is not an easy black or white, easy answer, but hopefully these things can help you navigate how to make these decisions. I've seen so many people feel like they just have to have a large wedding party. I think it's like a sign of like, how many friends do I have? How popular am I? Or if I only have two, does it look like I have no friends? And I want to encourage you to literally not worry about it. Don't worry about it. No one is judging you. If they're at your wedding, they need to be people who love you and are excited for you and not there to judge you based off of how many friends you have standing up next to you. I also see people who really stress about making sure that the bridesmaids are equal to the groomsmen. And let me tell you, I kind of myself did this. I was like, oh, I wanted to be 5 and 5. And then one of my bridesmaids ended up getting COVID. She didn't even come to the wedding. So it was 4 bridesmaids, 5 groomsmen. And let me tell you, I don't think anybody noticed. So I want to encourage you to have people in your wedding party who you want to be around you on your wedding day, who you want to be standing next to you at your wedding, and not just add people for the sake of adding people. It's just not worth it. It's going to be more of a headache. And, this is a special time. You don't want people standing up next to you just for the looks of it. You want people standing next to you who are happy to be there, genuinely there for you, excited for you, and people that you want in your photos forever. This is your wedding. It's that you're going to look back at these photos forever and you want genuine people standing next to you. You can always invite other friends to go on your bachelor trip or your bachelorette trip that aren't necessarily in the wedding party. And then it's like they're around, you still get to have fun with them, but they don't necessarily have to be there the whole morning of your wedding while you're getting ready in your photos, coordinating dresses, coordinating tuxedos, etc. It's kind of a middle ground. Another thing that I want to address is the pressures of family obligations versus personal preferences, because family can often have very strong opinions. And this is hard to navigate because this is your day and you need to be happy with your selections. But sometimes family obligations can be a tricky line. And here's kind of what I want you to do. I want you to think about both scenarios. If I include this person, here's how I predict it will go. Here is how I predict that my family will react to me including this person. I think that this person is going to act like this on my bachelorette trip. I think this person is going to act like this on my wedding day. What is it going to be like if you include them? And how will your family react if you include them? Now, do the opposite. If I don't include this person, here's how I predict it will go. Here is how I predict this person is going to find out that they're not in the wedding party. Here is how I predict that my family will react to me not including this person. Now that you've fully thought through both options, both the individual's reaction, your family's reaction, and how you are going to feel, how are you going to feel with this person around, or how are you going to feel by excluding this person? And think about now what's going to be easier for you. Is it easier for you to just include the person and avoid drama? Or is it really easier for you to not include the person and again avoid drama? We want to avoid drama. And so, for example, if you have a sister or a cousin or a friend that you're like, I don't really want them to be a bridesmaid. I'm not like, I don't care that much for them to be there. But if I don't include them, their feelings are going to be so hurt. And my aunt's feelings are going to be so hurt. And I'm going to hurt people by not having them around. So, you know what? Me as a people pleaser, I don't want people to be upset or hurt. And so for me, as long as everyone's happy, having that person there is probably just easier. On the flip side, this wasn't for a wedding party, but this was just for including someone as a guest at my wedding. It was someone who I used to be very close with. They were one of my best friends, and we had a falling out. And that person hurt me when we had this falling out, but our families are very close, and I was inviting the rest of their family. My family was kind of like, just invite them. Who cares? And when I thought about it, I was like, seeing this person upsets me because we used to be very close. They hurt my feelings, and I'm sad that we're not close anymore. And I didn't want to see this person on my wedding day. I didn't feel like it was fair, honestly, to include this person for them to come to my wedding day. They get to go have a blast at my wedding because they're friends with all of my cousins and they would have a grand old time. But every time I saw this person, I'd be reminded that they had hurt me. We never talk, but now they're at my wedding having a blast. And I was like, no. And my family was like, "Oh, that's like we're friends with their parents. Their parents are going to be at the wedding. Like, is this weird?" And I made the decision that I didn't care if it was weird. This person hurt me, and I could be a people pleaser any other day, but it was my wedding day and I didn't need to have this person at my wedding. And so I need you to think through those situations. What's going to be easier and happier for you? Are you going to feel better inside if you just let the person come and then there's no drama? Or do you feel like this is a time where you want to set a boundary and it's your wedding day, and not to be mean or rude, but you really don't want this person around? You're afraid that they're going to cause drama or they are hurtful in some way, and your wedding day is not the time or place for it. If that's a decision you want to make, to not have them around or not be part of the wedding party or not even include them in the wedding at all, you're valid in those feelings. You don't have to have them around. You don't have to include them. You're allowed to set a boundary, and I don't think you need to feel guilty about that at all. Just think about, are you going to be happier with this person around? Or are you going to be happier if they're just not around? And then make your decision. It can be tough questions to ask, but I encourage you to really think about which path is going to be best. Family obligations are tough, but again, I really encourage you to think about, do I need to set this boundary? Or is saying no going to cause so much drama that it's just easier? Let them come. Oh, well, they're not my favorite, but they're fine. And let's just keep the peace so that my wedding day is smooth. Pick whichever path is going to result in you being happiest during your planning process and your wedding day. Now, let's talk about how to kindly decline when people request to be in the bridal party, because people are very bold. That's the word, bold, I guess. And they'll say, "Oh my God, I can't wait. When's the bachelorette trip? Like when is it? I need to book my calendar." And you're thinking, I don't know when it is, but you're not invited. So a few tips for this is try to respond as graciously as possible, acknowledge their interest and express appreciation for them. Like, I'm so touched that you want to be such an important part of our wedding day. But then you got to set boundaries clearly and kindly. Explain that, hey, look, we've already made decisions about the bridal party. And let's say maybe we're keeping it small. We've made some tough decisions, but we have to keep it small. Maybe you can, blame something else, blame finances, blame the space that you're getting ready in. Emphasize their importance in other ways. If they're close enough to you that they're expecting to be in the wedding party, even if you're saying, hey, I don't want you to be in the wedding party, chances are you care about this person if you're that close to them. Like if you're close enough that they're assuming that they're part of the wedding party, you probably at least do care about them. And so reassure them that they're still important to you and your celebration, that you still want them at your wedding. You still want them to be a part of your big day. Maybe you can offer a different role or a way for them to participate. Maybe you could say something like, I'd love for you to be a part of the wedding in another special way. Maybe they could do a reading during the ceremony, or maybe they can help with a specific task. Letting people help often makes them feel really special. And so let them, you know, be there during hair and makeup. Let them, hey, can you be in charge of, bringing lunch for everybody? Can you be in charge? Can you be the one that's going to help me get into my dress? Or can you be the one, um, that is during photos, like helping me carry my dress? Or I don't know, try to find another way that maybe they can be part of your special day, but not necessarily in the wedding party. Maybe they could be in special photos. Can they get their hair and makeup done with you, but they're not necessarily part of the wedding party? The hard part about this is if you've made the decision to not have them as part of the wedding party, chances are you don't want them around. So I would just say try to be honest without being hurtful. Explain the size of the wedding party or any other factor that you can come up with that influenced your decision, but avoid mentioning personal reasons that, could feel like criticism. Don't say, hey, I just want, peace and quiet and you're loud and obnoxious. Maybe don't say that, but maybe try to find some other reasons of, you know, maybe you're paying for all the bridesmaids' dresses and finances are tight. Maybe you're paying for all the hair and makeup and again, finances are tight. So just explain to them that you had to make some really tough calls about how many people you can include and that you hope they understand. You love them so much. You want them there on your wedding day. You value their friendship, but, they just are going to be a part of your wedding day in a different way. At the same time, you don't have to defend your decisions. So maybe keep it simple. You don't have to over explain. You don't have to give reasons. You can just say, hey, look, I'm so sorry. We've decided this path. I hope you can understand that. And I hope you know, like, I still love you and I still want you to be a big part of my day. And leave it at that. You don't have to defend your decisions and you're validated to make any of these decisions that you want to make for your wedding day. I will say be prepared for a reaction. Understand that this person may be hurt or disappointed. Be empathetic and give them space to process. Say, I hope this doesn't change how much you mean to us and your friendship is so important to me. And then follow up and just try to include them as much as possible in other areas. Make sure maybe you can include them in a big way in your bridal shower or, have, hey, can you help? Can you set up my bridal shower? Can you come? I want you to be here. Not like, hey, can you do all these tasks for me, but hey, I want you to be here. I want you to be around in some other way. Just make sure that they feel loved and appreciated. So once you've picked who you want to be in your wedding party and you've gotten through who you don't want to be in your wedding party, I want you to set expectations early. Clear communication from the start. Discuss the key areas that they will have to be, prepared for. Financial responsibilities, attire. Bridesmaids' dresses are expensive. Suits, tuxedos are expensive. Travel. Is there hair and makeup? There's sometimes a lot of expenses that come with being part of a wedding party. And so I want you to let them know early what to expect. And travel can add up faster than you think, especially because if you are doing more than just the wedding day, so I want you to also talk about time commitments, but if you're doing a bridal shower and then a bachelor or bachelorette weekend, and then there's the rehearsal dinner and then the actual wedding day, you're asking these people to travel multiple times. And chances are, often what I see is nobody's all in the same area, nobody's in the same city. So people are having to travel for a bridal shower and then travel again for a bachelorette weekend and then travel again for the wedding. And people have to take off work. If people have kids, they have to find babysitters. They have, people have lives. They're just because you're getting married doesn't mean everyone's life is stopping and asking for a lot of days off in a row. Chances are if your wedding is in April, your bridal shower might be early March and then your bachelorette party might be later March and then your wedding weekend is in April. That's like within 2 months they're asking for 3 different weekends off, and that could be very difficult for people. So it could be difficult time wise and it could be difficult travel wise. And the travel adds up, which causes it's difficult time wise, it's difficult travel wise, and then it ends up being difficult financially because plane tickets are ridiculous, hotels are ridiculous. And so the longer amount of time in advance that you can give these people a heads up, the better. And I would just suggest to try to space it out so that if they're asking for PTO or something, it's not all at the same time. The other thing that I suggest, if you can do, is to do your bridal shower and your bachelorette weekend in the same weekend. It's not always possible. And if you're traveling for your bachelorette, like you want to go to a specific place far away or something, that could be difficult. For me, for example, I ended up doing my bachelorette and bridal shower the same weekend because none of my friends lived locally. And so I didn't want them to have to travel for a shower and then travel again for a bachelorette. So I ended up just doing my bachelorette weekend in Fort Lauderdale, which is kind of local to me. It's within an hour, but it was still fun. It was really fun. And Fort Lauderdale is such a popular destination for people anyway. So we did my bachelorette weekend in Fort Lauderdale. And then the last day, we went to my parents' house, and my mom had a bridal shower for me. And it was just perfect, easy. And everybody only had to travel one weekend rather than two. And I think that that was a very good move. The other thing that I want you to do as far as expectations is talk about the day of duties. Now, this is probably far in advance, but just start thinking about it. And when you have thought about it, let them know in advance. What is the day of going to look like? What time do they need to be ready? Where do they need to meet? And what do they need to bring? Are you assigning jobs? Is someone in charge of food? Is someone in charge of music? Is someone in charge of steaming the dresses? I recommend not doing this on the wedding day, but make sure someone is in charge of making sure the bridesmaids' dresses are all steamed. I know it sounds silly, but I really do encourage you to think about these details and communicate these details because I've learned that everyone has a different idea in mind of how the day will go and what they need to do. And so if you think about it and communicate your expectations from the start, it'll just be a lot smoother. Group chats can be very helpful, keep everyone informed. Wedding websites are also a great place to centralize communication. The one thing I do want to, say about group chat is if you're talking finances in a group chat, that could be tough because if someone's like, hey, I can't afford that, that's too expensive, it can be a little awkward. And maybe you want to have those conversations privately. Just a heads up to kind of respect your friends and maybe talk about the finances separately. But as far as the who, what, when, where, why, the plans, what's happening, yeah, do a group chat so everyone's on the same page. So, hopefully, everyone's on the same page and everyone's getting along. But I do want to give you some tips on navigating some sensitive situations and avoiding drama. So, some common areas of conflict are going to be the financial strain, like we were just talking about, and then personality clashes and past drama. So, for example, I've seen it many times, but my sister actually I saw this personally because I hear about a lot of bachelorettes and I'm there with the wedding party on the wedding day, but I'm not always at the bachelorette trips and in the behind the scenes of the group chats and stuff. Sometimes I hear it, but I'm not in it. But my sister, I was in it. Her weekend was fabulous. It went very smooth. But going into it, her and I were a little cautious because she invited a lot of her childhood friends. We had about 9 or 10 girls on this bachelorette trip. And two of the girls in her wedding party used to be very close. They were college roommates, been friends since preschool. And then unfortunately, they had a major falling out, like major, major falling out where they do not talk anymore. And that was a little difficult because my sister was still good friends with both of them. She loved them both. She could see both sides of their falling out of where they both went wrong. And she wanted them both around. And so we were just a little cautious. And I think she kind of talked to both of them privately, keyword privately, prior, and just, hey, heads up, so and so is going to be there. Are you going to be okay with this? I don't really want drama or anything to be uncomfortable on the bachelorette weekend, at my bridal shower, or my wedding weekend. You know, just want to give you a heads up that they're going to be there, and what can I do to make this better? Thank God these girls are adults and mature, and they said, hey, look, it's your weekend. Don't worry about us. We will be just fine, you know? But a few things that we did just to make sure to keep the peace. We put them in separate rooms. We didn't go and put them, staying in the same room on the bachelorette trip. And then like for dinner, we placed them separately so they're not right next to each other. Just trying to be cautious and aware of some of these situations. But at the end of the day, everyone's adults. It's your weekend. Talk to them privately, give them a heads up, and hopefully they can all act like adults. And if they can't act like adults, maybe they shouldn't be in your wedding party and maybe they just shouldn't be there. Um, Hopefully there's not a lot of tension, but make sure to just have one-on-one conversations, set boundaries, and just remember this is your special time. Again, everyone needs to be adults. Everyone needs to learn how to grow up and keep the peace for a few days. That is one thing that I've been very, you know, un sad to see as a wedding planner that I wasn't necessarily expecting is how much family drama gets brought into weddings. And I get it, but it's sad when I see the bride and groom being affected by, um, you know, parents who are divorced and don't get along, or dad and stepdad fighting on the wedding day about who's going to walk her down the aisle, and just kind of this crazy drama. And I don't want that for you. So be aware of it from the start. Try to have peaceful conversations. And then if people can't act like adults, it's not your responsibility to teach them how to be an adult. So you might have to set some boundaries, and don't be afraid to say, you know what? You're not part of my wedding party, or you're not invited to the wedding. And it is what it is. You need to enjoy your wedding day. So make sure that negative people aren't around. Lastly, I know I've been talking about how awful wedding party can be, but it really can be amazing. And hopefully, if you pick the right people, none of this is going to happen. None of this drama is going to happen. None of this chaos or people being rude is going to happen if you pick the right people. And so, hopefully, you are picking the right people. And if you do, keep in mind that these people are taking time off work for you. They are spending money for you, and they might be genuinely happy to do it. But even if they're happy to do it, it's still a lot of work, time, money, and effort. And so I want you to show appreciation. Yes, this is a celebration for you, but the least you can do is say a little thank you. And so make sure that you show them gratitude and you recognize their efforts. Don't forget how much effort they are putting in for you. So, make sure to at least just say thank you. If you want to get, a little special. At my wedding, I did a personalized gift for all of the bridesmaids, all my family members. I probably went above and beyond, but I really was so grateful for how much effort everyone put in. My in-laws did a wonderful rehearsal dinner for us. My parents did the whole wedding and paid for my bachelorette weekend. My bridesmaids traveled to Fort Lauderdale for my bachelorette weekend and then traveled again to outside of Orlando for my wedding weekend. I wanted to really say thank you. And so I did personalized gifts. You can do handwritten notes if finances are tight for you. You don't have to do gifts, but a handwritten note is cheap and goes a very long way. If you want to be super extra, you can do you can treat them to something extra, pay for massages on your bachelorette weekend, or if you're a guy, take all the guys golfing. You can pay for them to do something really extra. But again, that takes money. It doesn't have to take money. A handwritten thank you card can go a long way, or even a verbal, genuine thank you so much. I appreciate you. I know this was a lot of work and it means the world to me. Just saying that goes a long way. So don't forget to show appreciation. Well, with that, to sum it up, I hope this was helpful. I hope I didn't scare you. But again, I want you to choose your wedding party wisely. And I know I talked about some of the bad situations that can happen if you don't choose wisely. So choose wisely. But once you choose, set some expectations, avoid the drama, and then be appreciative. And you guys just have fun. This doesn't have to be so complicated, just have fun. I think that people put so much pressure on, like, how many bridesmaids, how many groomsmen, what are we gonna do? And got to have the best bachelorette weekend to take pictures for the Instagram. And while all of that can be fun, don't lose sight of what really matters. Don't let the wedding party take away from why you're planning this whole wedding. And don't forget, what are we celebrating here? We're celebrating you finding your person, being engaged, and getting married. So don't let the stress or the drama take away from the main reason, and don't feel like you have to do anything. Do what's going to make you happy, include the people that are going to make you happy, and that's it. Well, with that, I'd love to know your thoughts. How many people are you having in your wedding party? Are you having a bunch of them, all your childhood friends? Are you having 10 people, or are you keeping it small? Or are you not even having a wedding party? A lot of my couples just say, you know what? No wedding party. It's just me and that's it. And that's okay as well. So I'd love to know your thoughts. If you need any help with planning your wedding, I would love to help you. Go to delightfulplanning.com. I do free consultations. There is a link right on my website where you can book some time on my calendar, and we can talk about how I can best help you for your wedding day. So go ahead and reach out. Congratulations on your engagement and good luck with wedding planning. And I will see you guys in the next episode.